Hi and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing the TBR Book Tag, and TBR, for those who don't know, stands for to be read. And this tag was first started on a book blog called A Perfection Called Books. I was trying to link to that blog post, but it doesn't seem to exist anymore. But many other book blogs and booktubers have done this tag before, so if you want to see other examples, there are plenty to find. So with that being said, let's get into the questions. So question number one, how do you keep track of your TBR pile? Well, I use Notion for this. I have a database in Notion with all the books that I own, and as soon as I buy a book, I enter in all the information about that book in the database. That's when it was released, the author, what genre it is, and what kind of format it is. Is it an ebook, a physical book, or an audiobook? And I keep track of the status. I have a TBR filter, a finished filter, and as I'm reading a book, I update the progress. So it's very easy to keep track of all the books I own and what I've read and what I haven't read. So I really enjoy using Notion for that. I'm also using Goodreads and Storygraph, but that's mainly just for fun. Notion is what I really use to organize and keep track of my books. So number two, is your TBR mostly print or ebooks? And at the moment for me, it's almost 50-50 actually. Number three, how do you decide which book on your TBR to read next? Usually I just base it on the mood I'm in. I don't really have any rules about what I'm reading. I try to get to the books that I bought first, as to not build up a big backlog of books that I bought but then never read. And I'm reading multiple books at the same time, and I want those books to be different from each other. So I don't want to be reading like 4 crime novels at a time. I want maybe one book to be a classic, and then one a crime novel, and then one something completely different, a comedy, or yes, whatever I want really. So number 4, the book that's been on your TBR list the longest. For me, that is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. I'm not sure if that's how you say her name, but let's go with that for now. I actually bought this book on my iPad in the Apple bookstore when I was at university. I think it was the year when the TV series was supposed to come out, and that's why I became curious, and I think that was back in 2014. So yeah, it's been on my TBR for 8 years, which is not great, but I am making a promise to myself to finish that book this year. I actually have started that book, I think twice. The first time I read maybe 3 chapters, and the second time around I maybe read 1 chapter. I'm not really loving that book, as you can tell. But I do want to finish it. I don't like DNFing books or just leaving them half finished. I do want to finish it, and I will. I also tried to watch the TV series, and I didn't like that either. So I don't have high hopes that I'm going to like the book this time around, but I am going to finish it. So number 5, a book that you recently added to your TBR. And for me, that is this book. It got added to my TBR yesterday, actually. I went to the library, and by the exit, they have like a table of books that they don't want anymore, and you can grab one for free if you want. And there wasn't much choice yesterday, but this cover is pretty striking, so I did see it. And apparently it's a crime novel, and the main character is a retired porn star. Now this sounds very sleazy and very different from what I'm usually reading, and I think that's part of why I picked it up, because it's something fun and different, and something that you would never see get recommended on BookTube or anywhere else. So I'm going to give it a try, and if I don't like it, I can just throw it out or whatever. But I think it's fun to pick something different and something that no one else is reading. So number 6, a book that's on your TBR strictly because of the beautiful cover. I don't really have a book like this, but I have sort of almost an example of that, and it is this book here. When I first bought this book, I actually thought that I was buying this book, and this book has two books in it, two stories in it, and this book here has the second of those two books. And of course, when I received this, I realized that I couldn't start reading it because I hadn't read the first part yet. But so I had to order the book again. So I did receive this one. But when I did receive this one, I was so disappointed by the cover. I think it's not ugly, but it's very boring. It doesn't tell you anything. So, and I really love this cover. So I decided to keep both. Because I loved this cover so much. So I guess I'm keeping this book because of its cover, but I am going to read the story. But it's on my shelf because of its beautiful cover. So number 7, a book on your TBR that you never plan on reading. I don't really have an example of this, but I do have In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust as an ebook in my iPad, and this is a 7-part story, and I have the English version on my iPad, but I am planning on reading some parts in French, and I wanted to buy the physical copy of those parts. So if I end up reading some parts in French and buy the physical copies, then I don't think I will read those same parts in English. So those parts will remain unread on my iPad in English. So I guess that's the closest thing I have that could sort of answer this question. So number 8, an unpublished book on your TBR that you are excited to read. I don't really follow the news about what's coming, so I don't really have any clue about unpublished books. I'm also not currently reading any series where the author is writing the books now, so I'm not really waiting on a book in a series either. So yeah, I don't have an answer for this question. So number 9, a book on your TBR that basically everyone has read but you. And that is this book for me. It's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is the French version, and I'm super excited actually to read this one because I've heard so many good things about it. So I'm hoping that within the next few months I can start reading this. So number 10, a book on your TBR that everyone is recommending. And I have a book that I'm currently reading but I haven't finished, so I guess it could sort of count in this category, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I saw this book on basically all the booktube channels that I follow, and everyone was saying how good it was, so I had pretty high expectations, and I'm like 2/3 into the book right now, and so far I'm so disappointed. I don't like it at all. I do not understand the hype, and I'm very disappointed actually. I will finish it, and I'm hoping that it will pick up in the last part of the book, but I doubt it. So number 11, a book on your TBR that you are dying to read. And for me, that is this book. It is A Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway, and I am so excited to read this book. It's a memoir, and it's about his time in Paris in the 1920s and all the interesting people that he met there. And I just think that it sounds like the perfect setting for a memoir, like Paris in the 20s. I'm so much looking forward to reading this book. So question number 12, which is also the last question, and that is how many books are on your TBR? And currently I only have 14 books. I try to not buy too many books, and I try to read the books that I buy. So I think I have a very low number compared to a lot of other booktubers, but I do expect this my TBR list to grow. So that's it for my TBR tag. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.